Abram Smith, Bud Elliott, and Chuck Blunt back for another episode of the Nolecast. Chuck was kind enough to stand in on a recent episode and thought it'd be good for him to join us again. So, Bud, you were able to make it to the Tampa Noles annual event that we always look forward to. I was not able to make it this year, but sounds like it was a fun time as always, and want to thank those guys for having us out for the third or fourth year now. So fantastic time.
They do a great job with it, and I think honestly, man, they keep selling out, which is great. And like they sold out the VIP again, which was cool. I was like, hey, I got a couple friends, I want to put them on the VIP list, and Mike was like, all right, I got you, but also like we're legitimately sold out, so fire code and whatnot. They might have to go 2 floors of VIP next year.
Yeah.
Which is
I apologize to the merch guy that I wasn't able to make it this year. I think I've single-handedly I've made sure that his time was worth it. I'll put it that way. I've come back with a lot of Bowden signatures and other things from time visiting the Tampa Noles. So great event.
I did win us something.
So another good one.
I won us a new item for the Nolecast studio, and I got to find our FedEx number so I can shoot it to the guy so he can FedEx it to us here at Nolecast Studios. But you'll like it quite a bit. So, but I wanted to jump off there because when you do these events, you get questions from folks, and I think it makes you kind of reconsider how you're thinking about the team. And on a previous episode, we had discussed like the importance of the Bama game, which like it's very important for a lot of reasons. Obviously, financial being one. Like you're opening up the stadium, which see some like encouraging photos that a lot of that's going to be done. We think maybe it will be done. Like let's hold your mouth right, cross your fingers, do whatever you need to do there. But one thing I kind of kept coming back to, and we were fresh off some scrimmage stuff and some Malzahn comments, and I was like, they didn't get much done in spring because of the O-linemen they brought in. And thankfully, those guys are healthy now. Like major knock on wood, as we'll get to in a segment coming up here, talking about what some opponents have. But like guys, you got to understand, if they get blasted by Bama, now they have to not quit. And like it was an FSU pod, it's embarrassing to even talk about, right? It's game 1, but like when you have your quarterback talking about how like they're going to make Bama pay, and Bama can't stop them without Nick Saban and stuff. And you didn't have a real spring, like Bama's got a lot of talent, obviously. If that does go poorly, and they don't quit, and they keep other goals in mind, like have a winning conference record, return to a bowl game comfortably. Okay, maybe like focus your attention on the conference season. Like maybe Miami is not great this year or something like that, and you're able to sneak in to that ACC title game. I don't think it's likely, but it's not impossible. It's like a non-zero chance. I just think it's so important that you have games 2 and 3 on this schedule, Kent State and East Texas A&M, which is former Texas A&M Commerce. Like that falls where it falls is almost like a second preseason, which if you read Malzahn's comments through the frame of reference that I'm reading them, when he's talking about this is the first time we've had our starting group out there. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm misreading his comments, but it does line up with what we were told in spring, which is they did not get a lot done compared to what they would have liked to get done, because a lot of guys who they're going to be playing were not in the lineup, which is importantly, it does help to have your starters in the lineup. You see what I mean? Like if they just get through it and they maintain a good attitude and they're still competing and trying to improve, I mean, hell, maybe they beat them. I don't know. It's possible. Unlikely.
I agree with you. I think one of the biggest ones they could have is to get through the Bama game, but then you get through East Texas A&M and Kent State with the same 5 offensive linemen starting and playing together. Because as Gus has mentioned in his pressers, they've all played a lot of football, but they haven't played football together because they weren't all healthy at the same time in the spring. And you can do as much walkthroughs in the summer and different activities together, but it's still not the same as getting on a football field with pads on and playing against another team and not knowing what's coming. So just being able to develop that communication, understand where you're going to place your hands in a double team block or how you're going to pass off a defender from one lineman to the next. Getting through those next 2 games after Bama is so important for that ACC slate that will be ahead of them.
I also think some of those comments derive from the fact that a certain running back from Lee County wasn't on campus either, and that kid's going to be a large part of your offense. Running back one, whatever, we'll see. That's for other people to decide. But Usman is a significant piece of what this offense is going to be built around for quite a while, and it's good to see him step into to his first practices, as evidently is given as many encouraging signs as it has. That's a real deal running back to the likes that, with all due respect, I mean, that's just a different type of body than has been around here for probably 10 or 15 years.
Am I crazy to think he's what we always hoped Wilder would be?
That's the easiest place to go, man. I think. I mean, it fits. Some of his high school tape I watched, and I'm like, let's not try this. We don't need to try to drag three guys and let a linebacker try to kill shot us. But no, I mean, he's. I think Wilder actually said this in an interview a couple years ago, so I'm not trying to slander the kid, but Wilder should have been a defender by all, for all intents and purposes. Usman's a running back, man. I mean, he's a real ass running back, and I can't wait to see what it looks like in this system.
I think he's gonna be ready to go day one. I love Malzahn talking about how like he's picking up blocks, which is pretty important, and that's oftentimes something that will keep it back off the field. It's kind of what kept Dalvin off the field for those first couple games. Like Dalvin was not playing until Pender got hurt against Syracuse. Yeah. Remember?
Right.
So he went down, and then like because Pender was playing pretty well actually, and then Dalvin steps up, and the rest is history. So I did want to point that out. Like just coming off that event, that kind of stuck in my head. And they're like I think we'll be a lot better, guys. Like not amazing, but I wouldn't judge us just off the Bama game. And that's not trying to make excuses on this. I just think that if Mike Norvell does his job and keeps this team together and keeps them like hungry but grounded to where you have like goals that are actually attainable coming off a 2-10 season, like returning to having a winning record in the conference, and maybe like being alive in the conference race into November, where you're like at least mathematically alive to make it to Charlotte. Like that would be a good goal, I think, for this team. Like if you're that, then I think most fans are happy with the bounce back. Maybe not happy, like that can't be the ultimate destination for this program long term, but like if you're happy with the bounce back there, then at least you got something.
I think the AP poll frames it pretty well, Bud. I don't immediately want to go there, but you look at AP, yeah, maybe it's right, maybe it's not. You're playing 4 of the best 15 teams in the country, okay? You've got 4 games that, for all intents and purposes, you're playing rosters that at this point in time are not similar to yours. I didn't see Florida State in the top 15. Maybe I misread it, but that's just not where you are right now, okay? Maybe you're there in 2 years. You're not there right now. I'm not trying to pump sunshine, and Bud, you do a far superior. I have to, believe it or not, I have to focus on one team and be very fluent on one roster. I don't know exactly what's going on with Wake and UVA and Syracuse, like maybe I did 2 or 3 years ago, or like you do as a pod of a host of a national pod. But I'm not enjoying in people's injuries or whatever else. But through the first 2 weeks of camp. Certainly a higher level of confidence that I have when I look at some of these teams, Virginia and Wake, or I didn't reference those teams by accident. Virginia has suffered a string of personnel losses that are, I don't care if you're Bama, I don't care if you're Georgia 2021. That matters. I mean, that is a big deal what they've had. Wake Forest, and I'm borrowing this from being able to see in person 5 days ago or whatever, but Wake Forest is legitimately thinking about starting a true freshman quarterback that's about my height, about 5'9", 5'10". Okay, yeah, that's good. Long-winded way of saying you got 4 games. Maybe you can beat Miami. Maybe you're 4th and 14 Miami again 4 years later. That'd be awesome. But the rest of the conference schedule, becoming more and more confident that you have pieces that these other teams don't, that you should be able to handle a lot of this conference schedule in a manner that lets you show some of that significant forward progress that you just referenced.
Yeah, I mean, you got 4 top 15 teams, but the other 8 teams are all going to struggle to make a bowl. I mean, Pitt, NC State, and Va Tech might win 6 games, but the rest of them probably won't. Like, Virginia and Wake probably aren't bowl teams. Stanford might be the worst team in all of Power 4. You get East Texas A&M and Kent State. Kent State is probably the worst team in all of FBS. So, I mean, you have to take care of the business, right? Like, don't let the other 4 games trickle into what you should accomplish versus those other 8 that are on the schedule. Take care of those, and if you pick off one of the other 4, that's a bonus.
Like Wake is 4.5 wins, minus 144 to the under, right? Like to Chuck's point, Tech 6.5, minus 142 to the under. UVA got bet really hard to the under after they lost both offensive tackles and 3 starting defensive backs since spring. Like, God, if that happened, we would be. Well, we've done it before. Remember who went down before Taggart's first year, and we had seen practice video.
It was a guard.
They are
guard or
so
tackle,
screwed.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Landon Dickerson?
No. I thought Dickerson had transferred out. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought he was there the first year under Taggart.
No,
and then
Josh
he left for
something. Josh.
The kid from Virginia?
Who ended up going to Marshall, and there was some kind of.
Yeah.
I think they were counting on him, and we were like, that's not going to happen. Like, this kid's not going to be allowed to play. I think we were sitting here thinking, like, we're taking crazy pills or they're screwed. One of the two. You know what I mean? It's like, but who knows? Surviving spring is really crucial. Like, I was at the personnel symposium, and a lot of these GM guys were like, I wish we just bubble wrap our team and just get to the bus, right? Like, we do OTAs all summer. Like, I know the coaches want to have padded practices and stuff, but I get real nervous when I see them running out a kid out there who, and this is not an FSU guy I was talking to, but he was like, when I see them like running the kid out there who's limping, I'm like, why? We don't, it's not like we take summer off and go to the beach now. We run OTAs like nonstop. These guys have been doing stuff together the entire summer. Now, it's not padded, but it is organized. And we can coach it now, basically, like, under the rule changes. So, but to Chuck's point, yeah, I would be encouraged if this team handles its business. Like, give me a couple competitive, like a couple really competitive halves, a couple really competitive games against those top 4 that have out recruited you on the high school level to a meaningful amount.
And actually, Mike's been really good at knocking off teams who've out recruited him. Like,
in
2022, he went 4-1 against teams who actually had a better aggregate 4-year recruiting than FSU. And then he did 4-1 again in 2023. So, like, that actually hasn't been the problem. He's gotten them up to play those teams who have the better roster. It's getting them to show up and do their job when they're supposed to win and probably win comfortably. That's where he's had a little trouble. And if he could just flip the script on that this year, that would actually be a really good outcome, I believe.
I would agree with that. I also wonder, like, FSU was not a super old team in 22, was it?
No. They had some guys who played in 21, but they were, for the most part, a lot of guys who still had a couple years of eligibility left, because most of those guys made up the 2023 team.
That 22 was also probably the last year of, like, before portal went nuts, where you could see like a Wake and NC State, a team like that, hold together guys that had redshirted and they were there for 4 or 5 years. Now you just really don't see that with the bottom half teams in this league, and I think you should handle business. Like, that's your job, Mike Norvell. It's like to get the team prepared and focused. Everybody has letdown weeks, so I get it, but like, to me, having like multiple letdown weeks against the ACC slate that's not, like not Miami, not Clemson, I think if you're a fan, you'd have a right to be pissed about that. Like, I think you need to be expecting to win the vast majority of those non-Miami, Clemson, ACC games.
Yeah, they really should go 6-2 against this ACC slate.
Yeah, if they don't, I think you got real questions. I like that we've heard encouraging things about Squirrel White.
Significant. Yeah,
like that's big, man. Because like, would Pittman start at some of these top tier teams you play? Probably not. But like, you can't deny he's a pretty decent college piece. That's very useful. And like, we're not running an NFL team. Like, he has measurable concerns for the league for sure. But I don't really care about that if my goal is to get back to 8 wins.
That's right.
Like he can help you. And if Squirrel White's healthy, that's big, because I'm very confident Deuce is going to be a good player for you if he stays healthy. So, and then, like, they're hyping Boggs a lot. I can buy in as Boggs as your fourth most important pass catcher if it's Deuce, Pittman, Squirrel, or Deuce, Squirrel, Pittman as your top three pass catchers. And Chroma can catch it a little bit. Like if you stay healthy, I don't hate this offensive lineup.
No, I mean, I think as important as anything that both of your tackles are, by all accounts, full go and out there. Those are two big pieces that you identified in the portal and went out and got, two SEC level offensive tackles. The interior of the offensive line, I've always felt relatively confident about. I think you did a really good job there. The kid from UCF is a really solid piece that you can have a great degree of confidence. The Wake Forest kid, Pettibon, I loved from the moment you got him. I think that's as good of in retrospect, as far as everything considered, that's probably about as good of a pickup as when we'll look back at this class, the portal class that is. I also think that's I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I also think that's a pretty significant culture piece. Centers have a way of really kind of being the bell cow of the offensive line at times, and that's a kid that's going to work his rear end off. Has put on a good amount of weight. You can tell just by looking at him walking to practice. Doesn't mean you're going to go 10-2. I'm not trying to sell people on a bunch of magic, but I think you got some really solid pieces on the interior of that offensive line. That if the tackles are full go healthy, and I think one of them's a pass blocking specialist and one of them's a run blocking specialist, and you'll see how you try to measure that over time. But you've got some real pieces on the offensive line that I think are kind of the nucleus of this conversation that we're having. That, like, man, you play 4 good teams, you play 4 good rosters. Maybe maybe you surprise somebody. Hell, maybe you surprise 2 people. Let's hope you surprise all 4. But the rest of the schedule, shaping up pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like if my kids put away all their toys at night, but like our number one goal is get the Legos off the floor so the Roomba doesn't suck up the Legos and not be able to do its job, right? Like we got to get all the little pieces elevated off the floor. Like that's Mike Norvell's job. Get the Legos off the floor this year, right? Like let's not be losing to these lesser ACC teams. Get the Legos off the floor. Let the talent do its work. Suck up those conference wins, right? And like that's we didn't plan this. Sorry, that may be a terrible analogy. Maybe it works. I don't know.
Put it on a shirt.
Next year we'll work on actually putting the toys where they go, but like let's get them off the floor. That's okay. Before we talk about Chad and the great team at the legendary team, do you guys have an opinion on who the 5th hardest team you play is?
Pitt. Just because of the physicality and the toughness that a Narduzzi team brings. I mean, look at 2023. That Pitt team wasn't very good, and FSU was clearly elite, and that game was a dogfight. Now, part of it was due to there were some limitations to the actual weapons on that offense, but I mean, that game was in doubt in the second half.
I was at that game, and I remember in the second half thinking, dude, did we really do all this to maybe lose at Pitt in a stadium with 27,000 people? And now, I'm going to say, and maybe I'm just, scarred from years past. Let me see us go to Raleigh and win. Just let's check that box as far as, for me, what I would say number 5 is.
Was that the game Keon wasn't healthy enough to play, but he was doing like a backflip on the sideline or like cartwheels, and people were like,
it's the game where the kid at LSU slips on Destin, where Destin was in space, planted his foot in the ground, and you're like, oh, that kid's injured as hell, man. Like he can barely run. That's Ventrell makes a incredible play on a play that was not his fault, by the way. People love blaming him for that. Incredible effort play to force a fumble and recover it in the end zone, and then Trey Benson, and it wasn't that another Marquise? Didn't they run student body or whatever?
Biscuit
that
ran and caught that.
Yeah.
So
the old Marquis, the biscuit special where you got to tackle he doesn't look tight end tackle quite as much as he used to. Credit to him for that, but you got a tackle that occasionally can pass the eye, or a tight end that occasionally looks like a tackle, and you can line him up for whatever, a student body or whatever that play's called that Marquise didn't particularly well particularly well positioned for.
So Florida State 4.5 wins, juice under in conference at DraftKings. I think you need to be. I think you need to go 5-3 in conference to make people happy. You know, if you go 4-4, I think
you don't want to go under that number. That's going to be tough. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I agree with Pitt. Like I've been to some of these Nike clinics that Narduzzi does, and he doesn't really admit this fully, but he kind of implies it by the way he talks. He's like, yeah, like most college quarterbacks can't read it out fast enough to handle like the way we blitz. And then once in a while, a kid kind of does. And we're screwed. Like he doesn't say it exactly like that, but it's kind of like, you know, like, because people are like, well, what if you face like Joe Burrow? He's like, well, we're at Pitt. Okay. So, you know, we're like, but it's a good lesson to know who you are, you know, and yeah, I'll see if I can find a clip. I'll send it to you. It's good. Like he definitely understands how to call it his way. Did Castellanos play them last year, or was he benched by, or was it changed by that? Because I know BC lost to Pitt and BC only scored 16 points in 23, but I wasn't sure if that was the game that Castellanos was hurt in because he got dinged up at one point in 23.
He did not play against Pitt last year.
Okay. At least you get it at home. Like I do think that the fact that you get Vatek and Pitt at home.
He played him in 23 and he went 13 to 25 for 171, 1 TD and 2 picks and got sacked 6 times.
Yeah, that's probably not something we're going to want to repeat for this year. Something we do want to repeat though is loans with the legendary team because Chad does an awesome job. 600 Nolecast listeners, well 600 plus now, have decided to make a legendary decision with Chad. 844 FSU loan, 844 FSU loan is the number to call. And can 600 Nolecast listeners be wrong? I don't know. A lot of people at the Tampa Seminoles bar crawl, they had also used Chad. They were extremely, pleased with their experience. So let's keep that train rolling. Here's a question for you. I don't know if I have an answer on this. It came up. How much this offense is going to be Malzahn? Do we think like Mike can truly be hands off with this? I have no idea. People ask me this. I really don't know. We've never really seen them have to pass it off truly, right?
If anybody gives you an answer here, I'd love to know where they're coming from because this is not something you can replicate in practice. This is not some. This is how does Mike Norvell feel at 4:55 on Saturday afternoon? Is he really okay with? I mean, we won't know. So if anybody knows, please let me know how you know. Maybe your name is Mrs. Norvell or something like that. I don't know. But like, this is not. We're going to have this play out in front of us to have any idea. I personally, like just from my own work experience, I've worked for somebody and then been their boss, and that's an interesting dynamic that's very different. There's some past examples of success there, and there's some past examples that, give you concern as to what that dynamic will be. But obviously, if you're going to bring in Gus Malzahn, you do so for a reason. You both want the mind and acumen and a knowledge to install a particular system that probably does raise the floor significantly. But is Mike going to totally turn over every important in-game decision and trying to have an input on what 3rd and 7 looks like in the second quarter of Bama? Dog, please tell me the person that knows the answer to that question.
It's also like, if you're Mike, you want Bama guessing too.
Mm-hmm. True.
Like you want to come out in some form. And again, practice is completely closed. So, but you want to come out in some more Norvell formations and run Malzahn stuff out of that. And you want to come out in some Malzahn formations and run some Norvell stuff out of that. Mm-hmm. Probably. Yeah. If I had to guess. Now that's just kind of common sense. They both work for each other. So like it's not that dissimilar, but some of the run game stuff is pretty different. Gus is a little bit more angles based, I think, than Mike typically is with the run game stuff. So that's kind of just like game one type stuff. People will figure it out after a little bit of what they're actually intending to run, and then you got to dress it up different ways. But I don't know, man. It's a good point. Like you used to be that guy's boss, and now he's your boss. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to work. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. It's tricky.
I mean, we saw OSU try it last year. Granted, it's a different situation in terms of the pressure the head coach was feeling, but you had a mentor come in who didn't want to be the head coach and do the ridiculousness that college football has turned into, and he just wanted to call ball plays. It worked in the grand scheme of things for OSU, but it took time across the entire season. They had hiccups. They struggled in the Michigan game. Chip kind of got lost in his playbook and forgot about throwing it to Jeremiah Smith. Like, you don't know if Gus is going to get tunnel vision on maybe only going to Deuce Robinson or going to Pittman because he knows what Pittman can do coming with him from UCF, right? Like, you hope that he has his eyes wide open and he does everything and he goes back to that same offense coordinator he was when he burst on the scene and he had everybody on their toes. But until we see it, you just have no idea, and you don't know what. I mean, I think I'd want the head coach still making decisions on the pace they're going to play and when they want to press the tempo and then rein it back in a little. And then also he should probably have the call on fourth down, but you also need your OC to know if you're going to go, like, where's that go range? What do I need to get on this third down so that you're going to let me go for it on fourth down type of thing?
And I'm curious to see if Mike still plays to win or plays to avoid getting blown out.
Right.
Because to his credit, Mike has really he has played to win. And we know, we've discussed on the show before, like, actually playing optimally, playing to win can also lead to getting blown out by more. Because your chance to win the game sometimes actually comes like the first or second quarter when you have an advantageous situation. And granted, if you're as bad as we were last year, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's no advantageous or disadvantageous, whatever. But we have seen some of these coaches that used to play it correctly by the book start to kind of pucker a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they don't do it anymore. I think Joey McGuire at Texas Tech is probably the prime example of this. He used to be somebody who would increase his win probability very slightly, of course, by making the correct fourth down decision, or at least avoiding the egregious, bad ones. And last year, he kind of quit. I think job pressure probably got to him a little bit and just started punting a little bit. Like, yeah, it increases your chance to lose, but it also helps you not get blown out so bad. I don't know how Norvell's going to call this.
Does having a new kicker play into fourth down math, do you think, in some of the decisions Norvell and Gus are going to make? Right? Like, when you have a kicker you trust and you're on the 37-yard line, you might run something conservative to pick up 2 yards and kick a 52-yard field goal because you trust your kicker. A kicker who's never kicked in a college game, are you more likely to be a little more aggressive to try to go for it in those situations? And so you're actually playing into being good fourth down math?
That's a good question. Do we think he has confidence in the new kicker? He wouldn't tell us otherwise.
No.
I don't think. But he did mention some misses in the first scrimmage in his presser availability.
Well, we've also heard the kid has a cannon for a leg too, so that's what
leg. Do you
try to get him confidence kicking some long field goals, or do you want to save him so that if he misses a few of those, he might be shook later in the year, so you're more likely to go in those 4th and 4 from the 34-yard line, right?
That's an interesting question. That's a good discussion. I don't know. It probably also depends on like how much faith does he have in his defense,
right?
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of factors that play into it. I just wonder, just from if you had your kicker back, I think you're probably more. Let me get the points because I know I have confidence he can kick from 47 to 54 yards or whatever it is, right?
Right, and I like to your point, like the point you guys are making as far as the need to know. Malzahn's going to want to go for fourth on tempo. They're not going to want to let the other team sub and line up and all that stuff. Like when it's rolling with Gus, like that's when I think Mike gets out of the way, or at least should. Like Malzahn's pretty good at calling it fast when things are going well and running it up, and he's going to want to get his points. So like even at UCF, they would go for the fourth stuff pretty consistently and make the right the right call. So another right call you can make is your congruity. Congruity does a great job with all your payroll solutions, health insurance, whatever you need to optimize your business, Congruity has helped a bunch of Nolecast businesses, and I know they're looking to add even more. So you can email Congruity at congruityhr.com. It's Congruity at congruityhr.com. A lot of fun options over there, and we appreciate all their continued support of the show. I wanted to bring this up. Tony White today, I should get the quote right on this, but he essentially said there's some guys need to get their ass in gear.
Step their ass up, bud.
There we go. Okay. Yes. That's if you were to use a Chat GPT filter on Tony White and you cross-reference Tony White's press availabilities with the FSU roster, do you know 2 guys he has yet to praise this fall preseason?
Let me pause. Can you actually do this?
Yes.
Can you ask Chat? Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And you have to load in the transcripts yourself, but yes.
So I need to try to,
because he wasn't calling guys out by name.
Shares
so
of
like,
NVIDIA is what you're telling me. This is where the world's going. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a hot stock. You guys have never heard of NVIDIA before. Yeah. It's something to consider. Wow. Okay. Well, I've learned something. Yeah. Please do tell me who that would be. I didn't know you could use that capability.
Daniel Lyons, who I think with Jenkins out, you desperately need to be a legitimately at least like above average ACC D tackle, and Shane Brown, who, Sinone at Noles 24/7 said is pretty cemented on the second team as of right now. I'm a little bit concerned by this because, again, you don't have that many. That's the guy. Like, they have the look of the guy you want to play on this team, and so there are some of those guys. Like, for me to really buy in and think they're going to be like not just better, because it'd be hard to be worse, but like a good team. There's certain bodies that I want to see like playing well and in the starting lineup for me to truly believe. And Lyons kind of has that length. We're like, okay, like that's a guy I think should be playing if he can, as Tony White said, step his ass up.
Plus, they're just thin at D tackle in general. Like,
yes.
you need as many bodies there. I mean, we know it's a battle of attrition, especially at the D tackle spot. Guys are going to get banged up, so you would hope that you'd have more than 3 tackles to rely on.
It does make
I think you'll see a little bit of relief in some of the packages and the way that they line up. I'm not saying Darryl will be the only detail. Look, I haven't been to practice. So I'm legitimately not hinting at stuff. I just, I know what Tony's done in the past, and you get a little bit of relief there from the scheme that you don't need 2 true, 1 and 3 techniques on the field every play. KJ Sampson's somebody that they've always thought really highly of, and I would expect to, continue to see him emerge. The Wynn kid out of Greensboro, Georgia, they love physically. We were talking about it before we recorded. Just from a physical, perspective, probably as ready a defensive tackle as you've had since Derek Naughty, if not Eddie. I mean, that is a different piece of clay than what you've gotten out of high school in quite a while. And obviously, there's a lot of excitement and optimism surrounding the Desir brothers. Freshmen on the defensive line, historically that takes time to translate.
Mm-hmm.
If you had confidence that Lyons was giving you what you need out of him, and then you're hearing the Desir twins, I think you're like, oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're not mentioning Lyons is like, shoot. Are we mentioning the Desir twins to motivate Lyons, or are we like expect to believe the Desir twins are like legitimately like good for you right now? It gives me a little bit of pause, and that's not to say that guys can't improve, but we saw them against some elite level high school competition. They certainly didn't dominate it. 16 months ago. So guys can improve, but yeah, like that gives me a little bit of pause. I think they'll still get snaps out of Lyons. And I think some people would tell you, hey, like if they had maybe benched some dudes last year who weren't giving the right amount of attention, detail, focus, effort, whatever, maybe you get a little bit different result. I don't know that I'm quite as concerned about Shaim because I think they like some of their other pieces in the secondary. I do. I don't know. Maybe what do you guys think about this? Like to have max confidence in this team, you want to have like at least one of those really good corners that you signed last year,
yeah,
be like a dude in year 2. Like it's pretty reasonable to expect
Yeah.
year 2 of a top 100, top 150 recruit that he's starting and playing well. And they might have none of these 3 starting. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like you cannot
I feel
tell
like
me
Kai Bates is the only one I've heard about, right? Like we haven't
Le-
heard much.
Lester had a good play
Howard's
in the
coming
scrimmage.
back from injury.
Right.
Right.
And they did compliment Lester on the play. He had a couple plays in the scrimmage. I guess he had a pretty physical run stop too. They liked. Just they need to get more out of that for sure. You know, the staff's conversion rate on some of these 4 and 5 stars has been pretty poor, and that's largely why. I mean, it's one of the reasons why they're at where they're at. So they have to do a better job of like bringing more talent in the door and doing more with it. So basically everything. Have to be better at everything, guys. So I don't know. And then like Nicholson, I guess, is the other one here. Like you haven't heard a ton about Nicholson. I guess I'm not crazy worried because linebacker is a position where you have a lot of, I think, at least somewhat okay depth or like veteran pieces. But Nicholson's got a different athleticism profile than the rest of those guys. Mm-hmm. So you'd like to hear that he's mature, like he's kind of coming along. And so far, you're just not really hearing that.
I think the positive, at least Omar Graham seems to be somebody they can rely on a little, and he's going to contribute this year. So maybe not having Nicholson step up, it's the trade-off, right? One of them needed to step up, and you did get one of them to step up to go along with the transfers like Elijah Herring and Stephon Thompson, who's going to give you some quality backup reps.
And Juice is a ball player.
Yeah. I mean, he looks the part.
I feel very confident about Juice. He's a sharp kid who works his rear end off, and his parents are. It doesn't surprise me, but both of those kids are really good athletes who, are gifted, but also come by success by working really, really hard. I have as much confidence in Juice Cryer as any player on the team.
I think this whole conversation kind of circles back to what we were originally saying is like, there's a massive difference in having confidence that you can return to competence within the conference play and then jumping up and, winning like 2 of those 4 hard ones. Like I think there's a chance you can clip one of the 4. Like you have to play a little bit above maybe like a median expectation, and maybe one of those, like, it's not illegal for one of those 4 teams to come back to earth just a little bit, guys, right? like that's we would allow for that this year, certainly. Maybe Carson Beck's teammates don't like him for that week or something. Who knows? I don't know.
I'm glad we get Miami so early in the season. Like
he did have the number 1 overall pick and lost a good amount of games and should have lost to Virginia Tech last year. So the optimism's always there.
Speaking of the opener, by the way, have some friends coming in town. Had some Bama friends coming in town. Like, hey, where should we go for this? I was like, no brainer. Madso Township. I was like, if you're super clubby, maybe hit up top to read. She's like, no, we're more just looking for cold beer, good TVs, good scenery around the stadium experience, like the campus. I'm like, yeah, Madso and Township are definitely where you want to hit that up. I'm going to be in town for the game for sure. May or may not be doing something with CBS for that game, so we will we'll see. But if not, certainly starting early in the day at Madso and Township, and go see our friend Matt Thompson. Does a great job up there. Graham, are you in town for that one?
Brother, I attend every home game. We'll be having the Battles Inn tailgate. All of you are I got to be careful saying that. No, not all, 27,000 listeners are invited or whatever. But no, I mean, Bud, I could probably find you a pass to that. No, I mean, we look forward to having a tailgate that'll probably be as attended as any tailgate we've ever done, with the exception of maybe Miami 23. So it'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see what it looks like. Happy for Matt and all the business owners of Tallahassee for that to happen. You got a really front-loaded schedule this year. But you play four your home games by October 3rd or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, Saturday will be a hell of a lot of fun for everybody. Hot. As our good friend Jeff Cameron says, do not, what's the damn thing he plays? It's so funny. The warning, the
Cat 5 maintain.
Cat 5 maintain. Yeah. Do not let it be 3:05 and you be passed out in the bushes because it's hot as hell and you've been drinking for 4 hours. I don't know if I'll let Jeff. I'm not trying to step on his thing and whether or not he deems that a Cat 5 maintain, but it's probably going to be 102 degrees. It's probably going to rain at some point, and drink a bottle of water or 3 to make sure you make it in that new stadium and can tell your friends what it looks like with some degree of confidence.
And prepare for a lightning delay. It's August in Tallahassee at 3:30.
Yeah. What is your most memorable lightning delay in Doak?
This is embarrassing. I didn't actually. I didn't Cat 5 maintain on this one, but I was at the. Was it 2000? What's the game where Tebow's running around with mud on his face, trying to act like Braveheart or whatever? I was gonna go to that game, and then around the third quarter, came to the Palace, and I remember Drew Weatherford playing, and I legitimately thought I might have entered into a time warp or something like that because I didn't ever think I was going to see Drew Weatherford play again. But yeah, that's the one that comes to mind for me.
Mine is the 2009 Georgia Tech game where you thought, okay, like you got a rain delay. This might be like actually a blessing. You can get to the locker room, maybe like drop some new stuff, just kind of go over how Paul Johnson is calling this. And instead, it actually went reverse. Because I think Tech scored
on all but one possession.
They scored every drive in the second half or post delay.
They punted once in the first half, I think.
The over-under was covered by like the end of the like with 3 minutes left in the second quarter, if I remember that correctly, because everybody was scoring on everybody.
They fumbled and then like they gave us life. They fumbled and then there was a good DM that played for the Titans. It was on Tech. Derek Morgan came around the front side of Ponder. He beat Zebri Sanders, I think is the right tackle on that team. God, we have too much brain matter like devoted to this school. And then Ponder fumbled on the front side after whoever was it. Jonathan Dwyer fumbled for them, I think.
Sounds familiar.
Remember that was
right back on the fumble. And then
that was back when you could Ron Zook it and you could have a staff load the card, the what am I trying to say? Load the pantry or whatever with talent. And who was the former Cowboys coach that was there before Johnson?
Jan Gailey.
Yeah. So he signs Derek Morgan, who's the number 1 player in Pennsylvania that year. He signs Demetrius Thomas, who's a freaking future first-round pick. He signs the quarterback, Josh, whatever, Nesbitt.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure he brought in Dwyer too. And then Paul Johnson all of a sudden's like, oh my God, these are the most talented pieces I've ever gotten to work with ever. And that's what, Tech and Johnson come out of the gate there. Incredible. That was back in a time where I would just wake up and ride MARTA down to watch Georgia Tech's practice because nobody else is there. And you could literally all but call a play. I mean, you could literally just stand on the sideline. And I was there for some of his first scrimmages. And you want to talk about giving you good perspective on letting an offense need to install before you write it all. I mean, the first day I was there, they put the ball on the ground 18 times, legitimately. And I'm like, Tech's not going to win a game all year. I can't remember what they went, but they had a very good year and off. And this is not the Georgia Tech podcast, so I'll get away from it. But no, that was a different age in college football where if you signed kids for all intents and purposes, they were going to be there. And I think that was a 2007 Georgia Tech recruiting class or something, but that was about as good of a recruiting class you'll ever see at Georgia Tech.
There's also, and this is really off the rails, we're debating a game that is 16 years old. Jimbo had one of the worst field goal decisions in this game I've ever seen in my life. I remember like thinking in my head, like, I don't have my calculator with me, but this has got to be wrong. Okay, so if the half is 28-35, okay, pretty indication we might not have a lot of defense in this game. I don't know how much 3 points is really going to help you, but he kicks on 4th and 4 from the 20. Like, dude, for the love of God, like, just. Yeah, there was some stuff there.
You got that from Nick. Nick was like that too, though.
Yeah, that's
protect
true.
my defense, Jimbo.
But they had space aliens who also somehow looked like they were on HGH, like for that team for a long time. And we did not. We had, the 09 FSU defense was probably still the worst defense I've ever seen.
Is this Corey Mangum defense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Corey Mangum, Bud Thacker.
Yeah.
Like
Carl Yarborough. Wasn't that his name? The DN?
Yeah.
229-pound defensive end or whatever it was. Yeah.
Was Gino Hayes gone by then?
Kendrick Stewart was playing in the middle with Thacker.
He could do a backflip. That was very important as to how you evaluate a defensive tackle. Yeah. God,
hey,
what
at least they had a Rhodes Scholar in the back end.
What a time that was to be following Florida State.
Oh, my God. The problem was, like, Mickey might not have been wrong because that lineup was so small. Like he said, it's the fastest defense it's ever had. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you got a 245-pound D tackle, like there's a pretty good chance that he's running okay.
He was running the Prowler, remember?
Yeah, that was at a time when nobody in the league passed. So I really don't know if that was like optimal, like to have a great like amoeba style, confuse the protections for pass rush purposes defense when, who was the coach at Boston College? Old crusty guy.
Oh, Spagnola?
No.
Or was that when Tom Coughlin was still there?
Oh, Brian.
Or yeah, that's it.
Wait,
when he went to NC State? Yeah.
Yeah. But we're just gonna get double tights here and just mash. And they had that. Oh shit! Was it Chris Crane? The big quarterback for BC, like kind of was not fast against anybody, but was somehow fast.
Is that
and
the
like
statue who kept running keep against us in 08?
Oh my God!
The 27-17 loss and Ponder had cracked ribs.
Yeah, that was an issue. That team also had BJ Raji, who ended up being like pretty good in the NFL for a number of years. I don't know if he's still in the NFL, but probably not. All right, this is way off the rails. I apologize, guys. This is I don't know why I let us down there. Any other lightning delay favorites?
I always remember the one against Savannah State when we were like 69-point favorites and they had the running clock in the second half and had the lightning delay.
Oh yeah, I was in the press box.
2012.
There was like some debate as to whether we're going to keep playing this. Like,
yeah,
in what world does this need to be played? Like this is. Yeah, I was like actually concerned for player safety now. Like that Savannah State team felt like Bishop Sycamore. Like yeah. All right, we got anything else before we hit in and maybe knock out quarterback preview?
Good on this end, man.
All right, let's chop it here.